Hello everyone, I'm Socksway Up and welcome to our playthrough of Highrise City. This is episode 5. Today's focus is going to be on getting the beer supply chain up and running. Right now you're seeing some before and after of the redesign that I've done of the city while I was offline playing in my spare time. You know, we've learned a lot over the last few days playing this game and we applied some of that to the redesign and we're going to move forward and keep progressing. Now that looks more like a city to me than it was before. Earlier on, it was just a lot of things randomly thrown down just where they would fit. And now we've got it designed pretty well, in my opinion. We got a nice area dedicated to farms, and then we added some businesses around as well in here, as you see. And as I've mentioned, we've learned a lot over the last few days playing. We're about 6 hours into the gameplay now. And I want to apply some of that today, and that's what I did here by just relaying things out, waiting and being patient for being able to build farms and having resources available. That was the big thing, that was the takeaway. We got these farms a lot bigger like I was wanting. I think it looks sweet. I think the sheep look great. Still got that bug with the road, but hopefully there'll be a patch soon where the height of the road is adjusted to match the same height as the buildings, which would be pretty sweet and be a huge change right off the bat for a patch. But this area here we populated as well. The skyline's starting to come along pretty nice. So that'll lead us into checking our resources right now to start the episode off. You can see electricity productivity, the production is way more or is above what the consumption is right now. So we're good there. Same with water. Offices, we have plenty of production in our offices for the consumption, the amount that the city needs and uses. So we're good, we're set there. I'm not really sure about the, how that balances out in the city. You can see wood, we're producing 63 using 44. We're perfect on furniture right now. Clay's close. Production on bricks doesn't really matter. We're just kind of checking through all these. Coal 4 and 5 confuses me. I'm not really sure what's taking that 5th one from it, but we're going to increase iron a little bit probably. Right now we're producing just the right amount of toys or tools because we're not really using them, and we're producing those, and we have a ton of those being sold right now. Fish is going to be an issue as we keep growing the city. We're pretty close to running out of capacity there. Fruit's looking pretty good, but it's also getting close. Same thing with vegetables. A lot of these farms are going to have their productivity increased, or we're going to have to do something to get more food into this city. Bread is, we're not producing enough bread, so we're going to touch on that a little bit, as well as the main attraction of this episode is going to be the beer factory. So to start off, we're going to take care of our steel or our iron needs. We're going to build some more of these iron melts and also some extra coal processing plants. We're going to need those because of the new buildings, or the ones that we've unlocked and we're going to start using in this episode, require a lot of iron. So we're going to have to get the productivity of that kicked up a little bit more so that we can stop buying, because I started purchasing it in the trade for a little bit just to keep myself progressing. That's something that I do like about it, is we can turn that on, turn it off, and we're fine. We checked our wood capacity because we added those extra coal plants. And now wood's going to be a concern. We need to produce enough wood so we can build things as well. Right now we're at, perfect capacity for that, or the balance. The amount of consumption and productivity is equal, but that doesn't really help us in this case. So we needed to increase the wood capacity as well as our iron capacity. It's kind of a balancing act. Once you do one, you got to do the other. So here we go. The first thing we wanted to do is get this iron smelter laid down so that we can finish this part, or this new section or update that we're doing. All things lead to beer for everyone, I think. While we wait for the iron demand to even out, we decided to build a new service area. I had this idea of starting to build areas for the leisure buildings and the service buildings that was close enough and surrounds neighborhoods. And I think that'll be a good way to get around the noise issue with the parks. It'll put them still within range to make the citizens happy, or the homeowners happy, but it'll be far enough away to where the noise doesn't affect them at all. So I decided to play around with a little bit of a road layout that I knew would allow me to put multiple buildings in this area and create a center where we're going to put some of those leisure buildings. So that'll put it as far away from houses as possible, or it'll allow us to have it as far away as possible, since it'll be in the middle and its range will be at that, that spear that is created for the range of the effect of the building. And so that was the plan, to go with that, to be able to lead us into not being annoyed by the citizens complaining about it being too noisy at their house. And now we're going to show another tool that I found handy over here. It's like the funnel or the filter icon, and you can click on leisure and you can see where they're happy with the leisure. And there's also the the noise pollution buttons and the air pollution, as well as all the other services. You can see the range and how things are working with the low, high, and or neutral colors that the game shows in those areas. So that being said, we decide to add this larger leisure building in the center of this rectangle neighborhood or new planned out service area. I deemed it, I guess. Yeah, it's gonna be like a service hub. So here we're gonna add a couple more of these parks just to kind of get that green to get a little bit darker and closer to a blue color as we're looking at the key on the left side of the screen that showed the different levels and the colors of that effect, as you see low, neutral, and high there. So I think that green's gonna be pretty good. It seems like the houses still aren't going to be completely satisfied until the green does go to more of a blue color with the high demand being met. Well, if I haven't said it, I'll say it now. This game keeps you on your toes. You can see we ran out of workers at this point for these new parks, something I've somewhat was running into when I was redesigning the city, and so I'm kind of familiar with what we're supposed to do here. I added some more of the offices for the second tier of residentials here, or not offices, the houses. And that seemed to take care of it once we got them moving in. It doesn't necessarily say the type of employee or craftsman or engineer. It doesn't really say the type that it wants for these buildings. So I assume that it's any employee works there. Those are some things I want to dive a little deeper into and understand how that works in the game, as well as I'm starting to get a grasp on the supply chain. There's other things I still need to figure out, but one of those secondary goals that I had at this episode was to hit this 6,000 mark of engineers so we can keep pressing forward and find out the rest of the milestones. I'm really interested to see how many of those there are and how many milestones, how many more things we get to unlock that we just don't know about yet. And there's a lot to it. I love new games. I'm super excited, as you could probably tell, since there's been a lot of videos coming out. So now the next thing to do is to finally work on our beer. We need to first get the hops field going. So we're going to build a section here where I'm going to dedicate to these farms, or the new farm and beer area. We're going to keep the distillery near the farm as well, so that they don't have to move very far to deliver the alcohol or the hops to the distillery. So first I wanted to take a look at the pollution in this area. I wanted to make sure there wasn't too much to have a farm. I haven't seen any negative effects that the game has for that aspect, but I wanted to make sure, kind of keeping it real in my head. And I actually also plan on moving some of the power around. I just haven't found a final location for that. So we're gonna do that later on, so we're not too concerned about it. But here, lack of construction resources. We can see up top it's wanting 202 tools, over 300 wood, a ton of bricks. So we're gonna have to make a smaller farm because we don't have capacity for that. So we're trying to get this smaller one in here. We're gonna need 125 wood for this size one. I believe we can only hold about 130, so it's gonna be tough to be able to pull that off. So, and then we come over to the trade and we decide, you know what, let's get rid of some of the other trades that we don't really need right now, like the vegetable one, and let's purchase wood. We're gonna do a lot of building right now. Let's just kick it up to all the way to maximum, and then we'll move on to making sure we have our lumberjacks balanced out for our needs. But we're gonna be building, so we're gonna need a little bit extra building materials just for a short amount of time. While that was going on, we ran out of electricity, put that one down. I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do for electricity long term. I think in the next few episodes, I'll probably figure that out and we'll have a central hub for all of our energy needs. So even though we had some trade cycles come in, there still was not enough capacity to even make the field the way we wanted to. So I had to start looking into it. So maybe we go to the research tab and we can see if we can get some capacity. Production capacity level 2 gives us up to 160% for the building, not necessarily the capacity we get to use. So when a building is holding on to its resources, like the logs, like the lumberjacks, and it hasn't been picked up by a carrier, it's not available for us to use. So it doesn't go into the capacity that the city has on hand to use for buildings. You can see the maximum is 130. So research did not increase that. And a couple episodes ago, we laid down a warehouse. It turns out that warehouse is what got us to that 130 capacity. So we're gonna grab a small or a big warehouse here. We're gonna put that down. We're gonna see what happens to our capacity. We gotta let that build in first. Obviously, the construction time has to take up. It's about 50% there now. This is pretty cool. You know, when I first put that down, I didn't realize what happened because I wasn't following along completely with the game. But now you can see up here, 322. It almost tripled the capacity. We're definitely set on wood as long as we can get enough in. So we're gonna probably go over to the trades, get more in. As we said a minute ago, we're gonna do a lot of building in this episode, so I don't mind spending the money. And right now our balance it's fine. We're almost at 5 million. So we're just going to do this to kind of help ourselves out so we can keep moving on and not have to wait for the game to, you know, do cycles and wait for the lumberjacks to make wood for us and make those logs. It's just a cool feature of the game, and it's like real life. You know, you have this big project coming into your city, so we got to import some goods so we can finish it without having to worry about that part of the demand. So now that we have enough materials in hand, we can start building our hops farm. One thing leads to another in this game. Lots of things to manage and think about. So we go back to around the original size. I forgot how much tools that needed. Yeah, we're not gonna make a field that big. We'll start with a smaller one. That's gonna take forever. It's gonna be a lot more bricks. I didn't think it was necessary. It wasn't necessarily a requirement to have a real large field for this one. So we do about 8.2 acres, which is pretty cool. It turns out to be plenty of production for what we're doing in this episode and for the amount of engineers that we currently have in our town. And then maybe we'll find out if my suspicion that trading beer would be a really good thing for the city. We're going to find that out at the end of the episode as well. So here we're going to add all of the water pipes. We're going to try to just finish up this area of the city and not have to worry about those water pipes. I usually like to do that in City Skylines and games like this once I have like the tile unlocked, but I forgot to do that at this point. So here we're getting back to the resource tab to kind of see where we're at. So we are producing 14. So now we're going to take a look at the beer building and see what its requirements are. So we go over to food, find the brewery. I called it a distillery earlier. It's a brewery. So it needs 20 wheat and 5 hops. Wheat might be a problem. So let's go ahead and go to the resources and see how we're doing. With wheat, we have plenty in stock right now, but we're only producing 17 that we don't need. So we're gonna need 20 to have one brewery. So that's not enough in hand, it's not enough extra, so we're gonna have to build another wheat farm. And we decided to keep it in the same area, kind of in our heads saying that this is the only 2 fields that are actually used by the brewery. We probably could dictate that with the carrier, as the carrier will only pick up in this area and deliver in this area. So it's probably actually true. Pretty cool feature. So now the only thing that's needed over here right now is the carrier and then the bakery. So we're gonna take another look at our resources or our trades. We're gonna get rid of the wood trade for now because we got through that big demand of wood that the hops field required. And then we're gonna take a look here. Now we have hops, we have plenty, 14, we know that's gonna cover it, and 50. So we have extra wheat. There's a lot in capacity. So I decided to ignore the math that tells me only one brewery would work. We would need a little bit more wheat. We need 40 extra capacity to do 2, but I want to make money off the beer. We could take care of the wheat later. We could add maybe a planter here or something to increase the productivity and get that extra 10. I think we can do that without having another field, or maybe we'll just remake this farm a little bit larger. But here's the carrier we're talking about. We're going to narrow the focus of that. So there should just be the 4 buildings that carrier has to worry about. Be more than enough to keep that beer industry up and running and start making a profit off of it and make our engineers happy. So at this point, it was time to expand and grow. I wanted to hit that 6,000 mark of engineers in this episode. So we're gonna need a neighborhood for them. We're gonna need to grow, and we're gonna use the free tool here. Starting to learn a little bit more about the roads and get a little more comfortable with it. And it's I don't know. I'm liking this game. I mentioned there's a few things I don't like. They can be fixed. They're minor details, minor issues. I'm loving it so far. So adding in a couple more roads and figuring out when the free tool or setting and straight setting helps. Right now, the straight we wanted to go back to on this point. And it was definitely the right setting for this road that we needed to lay down. So now we're gonna zone in some of these residents. It's gonna take a little bit of time for the missing resources to come in. So what we'll do is we'll jump ahead, we'll pretend like you guys watched the whole time, but we're gonna populate this entire neighborhood and kind of show you the way it turned out. Before I did that, I was just checking the productivity and the consumption. The beer need is starting to creep up and people are getting what they need, and it's turning out all right. So while I was waiting for the neighborhood to come in, I decided to take care of the rest of the services. And this church was one that I wanted to put down. I wanted to put the bigger church down. You can see the color is a little different for that. It's a high demand, or it takes care of the high demand by putting in that church in there. And there's the neighborhood I was talking about, jumping in front and seeing. It's coming in nice. It's coming in real nice. I like these taller buildings. It's a nice separation between the 2 different classes, I guess. And it looks really slick and really sweet. The next thing we want to do is throw a bunch of the offices in front of them on the shoreline, make for a cool skyline in this city. We got some of the farms in the middle, but then right on the coast, we got these big buildings. And to do that, we're going to get that wood trade back. think I need more lumberjacks. I think that's the case. I think I need more lumberjacks. So jumping forward, we're putting down some more residents far enough away from that leisure. As you can see, we are leaving somewhat of a gap. Been putting some buildings down and then seeing when they get happy. But here we're pretty close to the 6,000, so I wanted to make sure that it was live and recording when that pop-up came up, because we're getting real close. We can see we're at 5,800. We just need to have some of these buildings finish. There it is. So now we get a look at what we unlocked. We unlocked the national carrier, the big water pump, a stadium, it looks like. A couple more leisure buildings, coal mine, a port. We'll have to see what the port's all about. The mayor villa. Gonna get myself a house, another warehouse, and then another machine factory, which looks like produces the toys, maybe? Our agricultural machinery factory, that actually improves the productivity of the farms. We'll get into that later on as well. But yeah, so the national carrier might be something that we'll have to dive into these later on. I like to take a peek at them and see what unlocked, and then we'll also hit that little next button and see what we could possibly unlock next. Gives us kind of a hint on what's coming. It looks like we have a university hospital, a huge warehouse, a cathedral, a steel melt. Nice, we'll get some steel in here. There's the toy factory, a quarry, some glass productivity, technology centers next. Oh, nice. And building renovation. Wonder what that's all about. That'll be fun to unlock those and check them out. Definitely looking forward to that. There's a lot to this game. It seems to keep going and keep going. So the demands are looking pretty good. Our furniture's fluctuating a little bit. Bread we need to take care of soon. It seems to hit 100 and then drop a little bit. We knew we were pretty close to that bread demand. But, you know, to end the episode, I'm just going back to all of these different resources and making sure the production value is higher than the consumption value. That is the key to keeping the city running, and that shows us right there. We need more furniture to hit the needs of these citizens. And we'll take care of those things off camera, I think, moving forward, and start focusing on specific single topics on these videos. Trying to find a good way to balance all of that out, but we're getting there. We're learning the game. There's a lot I'm trying to show a little bit more detail of this stuff. This screen here, that's a hard word, screen, for resources is a very valuable tab. It's very similar to the way you check the balances in Anno 1800. And so you can see here, I'm getting rid of that wood trade again and decide, let's find out 4,759 per beer. That's sweet. So we have plenty of capacity. We only need a few beer in hand. So let's set this to 200. We'll keep it at 200 so that as we grow, it's fine, but we'll sell the rest. And let's take a look at our first trade history. Since that, you can see 300,000 a week, almost 400,000. So just in trading there, because of the beer and the iron that we're selling, no, not iron, and the bricks that we're selling, we're making a ton of money. We're making a ton of money. The city's thriving. We started about 4 million in this episode and we're up to 9 million. The city looks gorgeous compared to the way I left it after the last episode. I love the way it's turning out. Yeah, that looks sweet. It looks like a real city. I like the potential of this game. The next few episodes are going to be very interesting to talk about some of that potential. I look forward to seeing you. I'm Socksway Up, and have a great day.